If you remember, there was a time when big SUVs and diesel engines, well, they used to go together like gin and tonic. Well, yes, the combination was simply perfect because for one, you get the fuel efficiency, and of course, you also have all the grunt in the world to pull your big and lumpy SUV. However, of late, well, diesel engines, they've come under heavy scrutiny from various policymakers and of course environmentalists. And that means diesel, as things stand now, is on its way out. But then if you still want a diesel luxury SUV, well, there are many options, especially the one I'm driving today, because this is the new 2022 X3 LCI X20D. Now this is a diesel engine and it's still on offer. This is an updated version, but BMW is still offering a diesel engine with the X3 in India. Now if you're the sort of person who still wants a diesel SUV irrespective of what's going around in the world, well, the X3 X20D still makes a lot of sense. However, the question is, how good is it? Well, that's what we are going to find out today. The 2022 X3 LCI means this is a facelifted version of the third generation model. And as you can see, of course, the face has been lifted, especially the nose, because this has got those typical, very infamous BMW flared nostrils. So the grille is bigger now, it's more aggressive, more in your face. And of course, if you are someone, I don't know what you think about the grille, but for me, it looks a little offensive. But at the same time, some people in office say that it looks more aggressive and it has got more attitude. So whichever camp you are in, I think you have to decide it for yourself. Now, coming to the side profile is, of course, this is not a generation change. So the side profile is more or less similar. There hasn't been many changes, but of course, it has got new alloy wheels. It comes with 19-inch wheels with this gloss black pattern, and it has RFT tires, that means run flat tires, typical BMW trait. Now, of course, the side profile is not changed, and in terms of size, in terms of dimensions, it's exactly the same as the old car. Now, if you come towards the back, again, this is somewhat of a controversial design. The tail lamps are all new. So these are the new tail lamps. They get this nice LED pattern around here, and it looks quite upmarket. I think I like it, but some people again in office, they said it looks a little weird. But I think it is kind of works. It makes it feel like a new car. So for me, it works just fine. Now, the exhaust is also new, but overall, in terms of shape, in terms of design, well, of course, there's no missing it for any other car. This is the X3. It's just got a little more attitude. And the most important thing is, of course, that new nose, that new grille, that new attitude it has, if you have to say that. So the X3 diesel is only available in a single trim, that's called luxury, and of course it lives up to its name. So this one, as you can see, it has got a very nice black and walnut brown interior. It looks quite classy, it looks quite rich, and overall the layout of the cabin is very familiar in the sense this is of course a car that's based on the 3 Series. So as you can see, the interior is more or less like the 3 Series. You have this very nice 12.3-inch touchscreen infotainment, full HD display, very crisp to use, and it comes with wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. In terms of features, of course, it has a rear parking assistant, rear parking camera, but it misses out on 360-degree camera. So that is not even optional, I think, but yeah, that's how it is offered right now. Apart from that, you also get BMW's virtual instrument cluster right here, and it is again a very familiar unit. We have seen this before, so nothing new on that front if you have been in a BMW, but of course for the X3 it's all new. So inside the X3 it's more familiar in the sense it's more like the 3 Series, and the interior quality is really phenomenal because this car, it feels very premium, very rich, and of course and that's a big improvement over the previous X3. Now the seats, I think they are one of the best in the business. You have these body hugging seats, you get really nice support, and you also get this extended thigh support right here. So overall, I think if you want an SUV, if you want a mid-size luxury SUV for driving yourself, I think the X3 makes a very compelling case, because as a driver's SUV, I think this is probably one of the best in the segment. So overall, in terms of equipment and how many features this car packs, I think there's no complaining. However, that's not to say that it's flawless, because if you sit at the back, well, I'll show you what's the problem there. So as you can see now, the space at the back, it's quite tight. And the other problem I have with this car, of course, the seats are very spacious and you sit quite upright, but there's virtually no under thigh support. And that is a bit of a shame, because if you sit inside a 3 Series, especially the 3 Series Grand Limousine, where it offers a lot more leg room and it's also more spacious. So if you are someone who wants to travel in style, if you want to be chauffeured around, and if you can live without an SUV, I think a 3 Series Grand Limousine will make more sense than this, because this is quite tight. For a 70 lakh rupee car, I don't think the space at the back is that great. Now, other than that, of course, it has got a very big boot. It has a volume of 550 liters, so you can pack your luggage quite comfortably. Having said that, the loading lip is quite high because it packs a spare wheel inside. So that is again not practical. If you have very heavy suitcases, well, loading them up will take a bit of an effort. But overall, in terms of practicality, in terms of comfort, I think it is a decent car. Not the best, but quite decent. The X3 X20D is powered by a 2-liter diesel engine, and it is a familiar unit because this is the same engine that powers the 3 Series. So you get similar power output. It produces around 189 bhp and develops 400 Newton meters of torque. Now in the 3 Series, it feels more responsive, it feels quicker, but this being a heavier car, well, here the performance is not that great. In fact, the performance is just adequate. Like I said, it's satisfactory, but it doesn't set your trousers on fire. The performance is very linear, especially at low RPMs. You have good grunt, but after 3000 RPM, it kind of flattens, and then there is not a lot going for it. The power delivery is quite flat. You don't really enjoy that grunt that I was telling you about of a diesel engine. So in that regard, this engine just about feels right. It doesn't feel anything extraordinary or special. Of course, it's efficient and it's quite refined. The refinement levels are quite good. But again, during cold starts, and if you turn everything off, like the music system, and the blower speed is at the lowest, well, you can feel the engine. It sounds a little gruff when you start mashing the throttle pedal. But overall, I'd say that for a mid-sized luxury SUV, this is a very decent engine. But I would have preferred something bigger. Probably the BMW Group's 3-liter 6-cylinder engine would have made more sense here, because this car, it definitely deserves that, because this is a heavier car and this engine is fine for a 5 Series or a 3 Series, but it doesn't do justice to an X3. On the transmission front, this gets the same 8-speed torque converter as any other BMW, and this is a brilliant transmission. I mean, you don't feel the shifts. It's very seamless, very smooth. So on that front, as a drivetrain, it's a very relaxed and very easygoing powertrain. Even though the 2022 X3 is not an all-new car, it definitely feels much better to drive. And by saying that, I mean it feels much nicer to drive. In the sense, the ride quality is now much better. It's more absorbent. It doesn't feel stiff. It doesn't feel firm like the old car. And this has a very matured ride quality. In the sense, if you drive it over bad roads, whether it's at low speed or high speed, well, this thing, it's quite absorbent and it gobbles up bumps quite confidently. In the sense, it feels like a luxury car now. Earlier, that was not the case because the X3 was never as good as an X5. But this one, it feels more luxury car-like. It's more balanced, I'd say. The ride quality is really phenomenal. It's very quiet, very refined. And even on bad roads, this thing simply glides over. So for me, this is the biggest change, because the ride quality has definitely improved. Despite the fact that this car runs on 19-inch wheels, the ride quality is really brilliant. And that for me is the main highlight of this car. Now coming to the handling, of course, this is a BMW. It's been softened up a bit, but then it's an SUV. And in its segment, I think this is still probably the best handling car that there is. It's not a corner cover, or it doesn't have that, or it won't handle like a 3 Series. But for a car of this size and shape, well, it is pretty decent, and there's nothing to complain about, because you'll kind of enjoy driving this car. It feels under control all the time. Now in terms of features, it doesn't have a lot of features to make driving more special, but it does come with adaptive dampers, and there are multiple modes. So you have comfort and sport mode to choose from. Now of course, in sport mode, the ride is more firmed up, and in comfort, it is more pliant. But overall, whichever setting you choose, it has that inherent nature that it feels more comfort oriented overall. The 2022 X3 LCI, well, of course, it feels more or less like the old car, but it has got a more aggressive face, and there are a lot more features as well. So it has definitely got a lot more attitude, a lot more character. So again, it has its strong points. It drives really well. The ride is really brilliant, and you get a lot of gizmos as well. But at the same time, it's not very spacious, and the diesel engine, especially this one, it doesn't feel that special. So my suggestion to you would be, if you are looking to buy a car in this category, if you want to buy a diesel, well, of course you don't have a lot of options. The 20D offers adequate performance and it has got all the things that you need in a mid-size luxury SUV. But the only fly in the ointment is the fact that it is quite pricey. Its price is 65 or 66 lakh rupees, and the petrol is also similarly priced, but it has got more grunt, of course. So in that regard, if you're not stuck up, the petrol version makes more sense. But then yeah, if you want that efficiency, you want diesel engine, well yes, the X3 20D make more sense, of course. But to BMW, I'd say that this car definitely deserves a bigger engine, and as a send-off only, I think it deserves 3-liter 6-cylinder engine. I think it deserves that part in, because then this will be a proper send-off for the X3 diesel or the big SUVs as we know them.